IREP component and sub-projects. Introduction. This segment will examine in more details the IREP component at the local level and of the implementation of IREP sub-projects with proponent groups. At the very outset, it may be pertinent to assert that implementation of IREP sub-projects is the most complex and challenging in the whole of PRDP. The complexity can be found first in the project implementation organization. For both iPlan and iBuild, the implementation organization structure ends at the PLGU level. In iPlan, the PPMIU produces the PCIP, while in iBuild, it implements rural infrastructure. However, iPlan differs from iBuild in one aspect. RPCO iPlan has a coordinative dotted line with the PPMIU, while iBuild has solid line relationship with PPMIU. The latter's counterpart fund in iBuild sub-projects makes the line of accountability to PPMIU solid. For IREP implementation organization, two more charts are added, the MLGUs and the PGs. IREP structure would look like this. The two added organizations make relationships in IREP complex. Coordinative lines from PPMIUs to city or municipal governments are dotted, and so with CMLGUs to PGs. But lines from the PPMIU to PGs are solid because, like PPMIUs, PGs have counterpart funds in the sub-projects. But unlike PPMIUs, which are not direct beneficiaries of iBuild sub-projects, PGs are direct project beneficiaries of IREP. Moreover, iPlan has a corresponding body with the same function at the DA Regional Office, the PMed, and also in the PLGU and even at the MLGU, the PPDO or MPDO, respectively. The iBuild, on the other hand, has the RAED at the DA's regional field offices and the provincial, city, or municipal engineering offices of provincial, city, or municipal governments. It is only the IREP that has no direct corresponding body mandated with the same function, especially at the provincial and municipal levels. Based on hindsight and insights of PPMIUs, MLGUs, and PGs, the factors making assistance, implementation, management, and operation of IREP sub-projects are analyzed and discussed in the presentation that follows. Proponent groups. As beneficiaries or recipients of funding assistance, PGs comply with specific project criteria and guidelines. Still, they operate with individual autonomy and independence. This self-governance makes their organizational nature, purposes, and structure different and distinct from one another, and makes implementation and monitoring highly challenging. IREP processes start from proponent group selection. PGs are required to submit a letter of intent signifying its interest to implement an IREP sub-project. But this step is only made possible if a PG is informed with the help of or invited by the municipal or city LGU, city or municipal local government units. In this present era of devolution, agriculture services are still able to reach the grassroots and far-flung rural areas through the CMLGU. To facilitate dispensation of services from national line agencies and provincial government units, CMLGUs have organized farmers and fishers into groups or associations. Therefore, with its geographic proximity to the PGs, CMLGUs play vital roles in providing coordination, facilitation, and technical assistance to PGs to make sub-project implementation effective.
MLGUs sila'y atong immediate nga support dito sa areas kung magka-problema kay layo man lagi mi. No? So ang among pagbisita sa mga PGs is scheduled man. So doon ay times nga mo tawag ang atong mga PGs and our counterpart in MLGUs are the one who will respond them immediately.
Na-inform ko kay apil man ko sa IRIP sa DAX with Dr. Dudo. Ako'y contact niya. Pag may mga problema mo, ingon na alarm na si Doc attend sa meeting. Kay there is kuan. So nana na among kuan ba.
Actually, we organized all our farmers in Mugo. And we federated. They participated in the planning because they are member of the City Development Council.
Si Kuan sir ang nag-inform sa amuha si Sir Domicilio. Tambong siya pag meeting sa farmers dayon. Nangutanan siya sa amuha kung naka-register na ba mi sa dole kay naa ko noy project sa PRDP.
The high number of PGs for sub-projects, especially for small livelihood sub-projects, is a reflection on the geographic proximity of MLGUs to PGs and their long-time practice of providing agricultural services to their respective constituents. Planning framework and processes. Projects come from a plan. As IREP sub-projects are a translation of a plan based on the constraints of a segment for a particular commodity, so are provincial and municipal projects translation of a provincial and municipal plan based on the needs of farmers. The experience of PPMIUs, CMLGUs, and PGs in IREP made them understand their own planning framework, processes, and practices. 1. Agriculture offices at the local government units do not have a holistic, integrated plan for the agriculture sector. Planning is carried out by the Provincial Planning and Development Office. The plans of the Agriculture Office are submitted to and are incorporated into the whole provincial plan by the PPDO.
Ang sa planning officer dyan, sir, planning officer o PPDO.
Such a process makes local agriculture offices confined or focused on service delivery or project-based, hence the name Provincial Agriculture Services Office. There are projects from regional offices of line agencies but are not part of the plan. The same holds true to municipalities.
In fact, sa mayor nga side, nadyo na sa datos na mo nga why the program nga dili dawaton from the regional office. Nakakape, mga kakao, dawaton.
2. Planning and budgeting involves conducting consultation with farmers or farmers group. But the emphasis of the consultation is on the needs of the constituents, and without the guidance of a holistic development plan or a planning framework or tool, such as a value chain analysis.
Sa among andan ang mag-submit na may mga plans ang i-submit dire unsay parang need sa mga constituents namo sa province ja i-submit namo sa PPDO.
In our planning strategy, we always require departments to conduct stakeholders conference, conduct stakeholders planning, consultations and conferences, meetings, so that the concerns of any stakeholder can be incorporated in the department's plan and request for budget for that particular year.
Three. Agriculture services, although based on consultations with constituents, are not uniformly and consistently delivered.
Ang nahatag sa munisipyo, sir, kay is kanarang iro sa pag-inject. Wala sa mga manok. Like for example, kanang nagmasakit, nya sa una man gud, sir, kay magbati ang magpisukod siya, pasagdaan na lang, tanaw na lang po.
Sa first cycle, dihay problema nga ang baboy murag kana bitang sir ilang gingalag biro nga kun ang ihawon kuno to kanang baho ang karne kami wa mi ka kuan og ning dawat naman mi adto sir kasagara na problema mi kay kanang sa kagagmay unja siguro stress po tingali kay gikan kuno to sa biska nanguha na po ko og technician sir pag sulbad adto nga problema.
Thus, even if PGs do have past experience in growing or raising a commodity, it does not necessarily mean they have gained sound technical expertise on the commodity over time. Yet, this has been a non-issue for raisers, farmers, or growers, as they did not produce for the needs of the market, but for their basic needs. For example, the swine production and marketing of Tambongon San Remigio, Cebu lost its only boar costing 36,000 pesos due to overwork in the reproductive work. The PG realized they lost a big part of their capital asset for they were not able to have the boar covered by an insurance.
Walang kita makahuna-huna ang ating pansyo. Kaya ano, so ni Mama Aida, 1 month after, pwede na. Kaya nga nung nga, waman takalihok nga, namatay ito, lagmit mga gagawin nga, liba na buwan pa, ipapapalit.
The experience in PRDP made project stakeholders at the local level realize the results of past local planning practices have far-reaching implications to IREP. Firstly, projects are undertaken not as business enterprises aimed to profit. Production is dispersed and small scale. Farm produce is sold by individual farmer, not as a group. Individual selling is for personal or household income.
Mostly sa mga members namo, especially mga farmers members namo, dako naman kay sila kasinatian aning native chicken tungod kay bisan ang uban wala gyud nagnegosyo og native chicken pero naa sila kaugalingong mga binuhi nga native chicken. Nakasinati sila nga sa panahon sa kawadon gyud katong wala nila damha nga gibuhi nilang mga manok makasulbad gyud sa ilang problema sa panahon nga mabaligya nila unya nindot gyud kayo ang presyo pero lang limited lang pod ang ilang mga gibuhi.
Our farmer are not businessmen, are not kanang entrepreneurs, no? So it's very hard to transfer from merely farmer producing food para sa ilang pamilya and then ay mabaligya gamay and then himuon mo siya nga negosyante pagkalisod siya nga labangon.
Secondly, even projects that are mostly subsistence level production are not self-sustaining.
Bisag na anay initial funding nga hatag nimo pero ang subsequent pa sa dili man nila ma-sustain po di kay magasto tingali ambot sa nang sumangayon maghihita na po sila kanang another funding na po for the next cropping.
Thirdly, farmers' organizations are weak and membership do not last long.
Sa grupo sa amo katong women's sa sinugdanan sa pag-organize pa namo abot mi 100 sa lisod man lagi ning Pilipino mo man ning way makuan mag-anam-anam kapudyan magsigatin og meeting hantod nga ning abot na lamang jud mi og 53. So pagkakaroon doon na lamang mi 43 ka members.
Lastly, there is no sound financial management. According to the provincial and municipal LGUs, most PGs have difficulties in financial recording and financial management of their business enterprise project operations.
Isod gud ang mga hedra technically kanang pagkuan sa ilang mga libro. Karon bisag karon kanang magwangadyo ang PRDP sa ilang mga kanang ilang financial statement maglisod pag.
One of the issue is the documentary requirements of the PG. That's why the release of the money to the PG is delayed.
Financial management is the number one problem because everyone needs fund for personal use. These are our low-earning farmers.
Seeds of entrepreneurship. The preceding analysis and discussions show that local government units and proponent groups have understood where the challenges are. By comparing their past experiences in implementing their own projects with their current experience in IREP, they are able to draw valuable lessons and choose the seeds of entrepreneurship. Seeds of sustained enthusiasm amidst initial failure.
Isabot gid mi sa mong kapunungan nga among sang gibuhi ang mga kapulungan maragli pa usa may makabenepisyo. At least umabot kami gyapon ang makabenepisyo kay maning kamot lugid mi sir.
Munta sir nga mulambo ning amo ang little chicken kay katabang mi sa amo ang mga membro kay mo magilay amo ang ambisyon sa una pa nga adapt mi ani excited mi ba nga mo appeal mi ani.
Seeds of proper self-motivation and trust in the organization.
Aron kay naman tay kadaganan nga pwede na to ihibaw nga painjikan siya or unsa nga kanang angay nga ikatabang sa manok para nga mabuhi pagid siya. Ganahan ko sir nga kanang inana nga daghan na siya og ma-harvest kay mapun-an man ang amo ang income sir ba. Kay sa nangagi man gud sir minus naman kay magdepende raman og pila ka buok dihang harvestonon. Nya sa pagkakaron kay labi nanay kuan nga lain nga tindahan sir.
Seeds of common goal and collective responsibility.
Sawa pa ang PRDP, di amis tindahan. Kay na naman may mga assignment dito nga ang among pagkuan sa among tindahan, mutabang sila o bantay. So mag-schedule o kada adlaw si Jamay mukuan. Sa amo nang gihimo, mo na tay amo sa diha na PRDP, continuous gihapon ang among paagi sa tindahan.
Seeds of marketing and managing for profit.
Ang organisasyon na may among marketing ko ng kuan, si Dja maoy mo kontak sa sugod, Dja, pag mo report si Dja nga mara nay presyo, so ahapon tawagwan ang mga members katong tag-ija sa mga baboy, kung okay ba mo ni anang presyo nga maura na. Kung mugo sila, ato usang kuanon og ang injong gasto sa pasaw, makakuan ba di ana nga presyo. So, ug di ta mo kuan anang gasto sa pasaw kuan lugi ta di ta mo go ana mangita tag another kuan ba.
Seeds of enterprise diversification, good social attitudes, and social capital or horizontal relationship.
Kini nga grupo kaning Southern Leyte Geotextile Production and Marketing usa ni ka murag committee sa amo nga organization. Usa lang siya ka committee. Daghan kayo mga lain pang mga project. Wa may pili bisan sa basak, bisan sa mga trabaho sa balay ang among grupo na adyon na.
Gi-training mi kauban atong DOST, dihapay PCA, DOST, DTI. O to gi-training mi didto. Nya, dili pa jud mi kamaon. Nag-request na pud mig training sa San Franz. Mao to nagbayad mi nila, gibayaran namo sila nga ginganhi ka jud mi 2 days. So nakamao nami. Pero jud mura kog ma-sentimental sir kay ang amo mga katawahan diri moingon ra nga kanang naay, moingon ra nga da barato ra man si ina, da sig apil-apil moingon ba pero ay adyo mo inana kay inana pero moingon lang mo pero kanang 250 tiguma di ba mo dako na madugay o di ba?
Seeds of accountability and financial management.
Dili mo prosper kaning first nila nga atong gipabuhi nila naman tayo evaluation di na pud sila ka repeat o buhi.
Nagmonitor gajud ko sa among kuanang treasurer. So ang monthly namo nga meeting kinahanglan ang treasurer mo hatag gajud siya sa liquidation pintada.
Part of Southern Leyte PPMIU's initiative to address financial management issues is to provide field technical staff for IREP sub-projects who assist the PGs prepare and submit required documents and periodic documentation.
The province hired dedicated people for PRDP project, and in fact, they're the one who go to the PG's offices and location. So sila yung nagtitrain and nagtulong sa PG to comply documentary requirements.
Seeds of technical expertise for commodity and for business and organizational management.
Pero ang nakalahi kay kani atong ginegosyo more on risk kung di nato mabantayan tungod kay naa man ni kinabuhi. Dili man ni pwede nato nga kanang ibutang lang sa daplin, ibutang sa lugar nga dili maigo sa iyang temperatura. Gikan sa sinugdanan, gamay pa siya hangtod sa pagtubo nga di naa pa siya kinabuhi. Dihan dapita ang kinahanglan nga i-exert among effort para nga ma-maintain nato ang good health sa mga manok kay naa nakasalalay di ang dakong investment nato.
The IREP of Southern Leyte, a veterinarian, is aware that providing IREP sub-projects require a complex set or combination of sound technical knowledge on the commodity, expertise in managing business enterprise, and skills in organizational management and development. He acknowledges the limited set of skills of the small number of technical field staff the province assigned to PGs due to a limited provincial budget. He explains the benefits of having field technical staff, equivalent to IBuild's RIE, who have specific project sites to focus on and not as all-around technical support staff to all PGs and MLGUs.
Ang kanisa nga mga project na siya technical support personnel nga mo hands-on dito sa field. Kay ang ato local government manggod tungod kay naglisod sa support sa personnel, diha ta magka problema. So like for example sa ato SLP, no? For every commodity makahatag lang mig usa ka technical personnel. So mo-cover siya og daghang municipalities, ineffective siya.
Conclusion: separating grains from chaff, nourishing seeds of entrepreneurship. When will be the time to reap for the Visayas cluster I reap? We judge it proper to exercise prudence when answering the question, in order not to fall into the pitfall of waiting for Godot, or searching for the elusive Holy Grail, or looking for a panacea. Rather, it may seem relevant to say that the first harvest season has actually begun. For the Visayas cluster, that season is the time to unlearn old project practices, learn new business values and attitudes, and to continue learning on the technical aspects of a commodity. But in moving forward, we differentiate the two uptakes in I reap. We separate the grain from the chaff, and nourish the seeds of entrepreneurship. The grains and the chaff. For the small livelihood projects, Visayas Cluster will ensure that the PRDP objective to help rebuild productive assets will see its completion, in coordination with municipal governments, which will provide extension services to these sub-projects. For SLPs that have shown profitability, expansion or upgrading potentials, these sub-projects will be assisted to access funds either from PRDP or other funding opportunities from other agencies and institutions. PRDP funding opportunities for expansion or upgrading of SLPs will depend on the organization's readiness and capability. Growth and progress of SLPs are slow. Therefore, timing is essential for such a fruition, that the buds and blossoms will not be blown away like chaff when the opportunity from PRDP closes. Nourishing seeds of entrepreneurship. IREP is about climate-smart, competitive, and sustainable enterprises. The Visayas cluster will focus on nourishing the seeds of entrepreneurship that have started germinating in IREP regular sub-projects. As iPlan profits much from a strong and well-capacitated planning body, IREP enterprises will profit greatly if management and operations are aimed at the bigger needs of the commodity value chain or industry. The soil of linkaging and convergence has been prepared and made ready. Through the PCIP, the convergence structure and enabling support mechanisms have been organized. The Visayas cluster will continue to cultivate the soil by operationalizing the convergence with local government units, national line agencies, and the business sector. The next cropping season has begun.